Hi everybody, welcome to Masterclass. I'm here with teacher Mark Atwood. Many people know Mark as an incredible teacher, a coach, an advisor, and a chaperone. And he's here to talk to us specifically about our really special program that's World Language Instruction that starts as early as kindergarten and goes all the way through 12th grade. Welcome, Mark.
Thanks.
So you have been with us for 10 years.
A decade.
A decade, and in your career, 15 years. And I just would love to hear from you. Tell me about the life of a Latin teacher.
Okay, anytime I get an opportunity to teach a dead language, I'm going to take it. That's number one. Latin teacher here at Indian Hill. I want to start with maybe an anecdote to tell you what it's like. So there's this organization called the JCL, or the Junior Classical League. It's like the junior version of the professional association for all the teachers. They offer these tests. There are 6 or 7 tests, and they're national tests. Anybody can take them. And we offer about 5 or 6 of these tests to our students as an optional test. And so every year it rolls around a particular time of the year where we're going to introduce these things to the kids and see who wants to take these things. And so, imagine me, I'm at the front of the class, and as a teacher, I said, okay, now, there are these tests, and they're optional. We're going to have some time, maybe after school, where you can come and study a little bit, and then you can take this extra test. Does anybody want to? And then half of the class. So we got kids who are just lining up to show their knowledge and take extra tests. That's the type of kids that, we're teaching, and that's kind of the experience. And so, I reflect on this and I think about this, and you're like, where does that come from? How are these kids lining up to take extra tests? Right? Is it nature or is it nurture? And I think about it, and I think the answer's got to be a little bit of both, right? But I think to me, what stands out is that we have the opportunity to work in this community that really, really values learning and values experiences. And those start from birth, and then they continue through school. And what that does is it just builds curious people. And I think that's what you get when you get the chance to teach Latin at a school like that, is these kids who are just primed for learning, primed for wanting to know, wanting to experience new things.
So I agree with all of that. One of the great aspects of my job is I get to watch all of these great students and teachers be together and be in the classroom. And when I look at world language acquisition, I see students interacting by speaking, by listening, by reading, by writing. Mm-hmm. Can you talk to us, for somebody who has not been in a world language classroom in a long time, it looks really different than what it felt like for me. I remember hours in silence conjugating verbs, right? So how does it look different now? Okay,
so when I meet new people and they ask what I do, I tell them I'm a Latin teacher. And always, it's followed with, I remember I took Latin in high school, or I took Spanish in high school, and all I remember is this, or all I remember is, conjugating verbs or something like this. So, man, I could talk for a long time about some really specific changes in pedagogy, and I think would put a lot of people to sleep. But in practice, it's pretty exciting. And the exciting thing, I think, is that the changes in world language are mirroring a bunch of changes that are going just on across education. And there's a big shift, I think, going on from the idea where we're going to plod through some curriculum, and that when we get to the end of that curriculum, we can say, oh, well, I've taught these kids. And the shift is moving away from that to putting these kids and their experiences and their interests at the center of what you're doing, right? So you're drawing out things that they have learned before, experiences that they've had before, and you're making these connections. Now, it looks, there are a lot of different ways, I guess, that it looks, depending on what classroom you enter and depending on when you enter that classroom. And that variety of experience, that variety of being able to interact with the language and being able to show what you know in different ways, that's the exciting part about it.
So I just want to say, when you were describing that, in my head, I have some visuals that as I visit classrooms, I see students being so active in their learning, even getting up and moving around the room often, but they're engaged and they're joyful in their language acquisition. So then here's another question I have for you. One of the things that's unique about Indian Hill in comparison to some other districts is that we start world language acquisition in kindergarten. Our students participate in Spanish K through 5. When students enter the middle school, they have a choice of Spanish, French, or Latin, and that continues in high school. Some of our students continue with the language they had in middle school, and sometimes they change to a new language, and we allow that. I get a kick out of it when I meet a senior who sometimes says, just my senior year, I decided to try something different, so I'm in Latin 1. I've always wanted to try that. So what does it feel like for you as a teacher to be in a school district where there are students who maybe haven't learned Latin since kindergarten, but they have been exposed to learning a world language?
Yeah, I mean, like if I were king of the world, just for, I would make it so that everyone had to take a classical language, like a dead language. I'd make it that everyone had to take a dead language and a modern language at the same time, because they're so two totally different experiences, but there's only so many hours in the day. And so people have to make a choice, and that's fine. Some kids actually do here, though, take both a classical language and a modern language at the same time. I mean, it's definitely possible. But go back to that spirit of curiosity that is built through a whole bunch of different experiences. Learning a third language is easier than learning a second language. Learning a sixth language is easier than learning a fifth language. So just any exposure to a second language as early as you can possibly get it pays dividends down the road. Lived in Egypt for a couple of years, and I had never spoken Arabic before I lived and taught in Egypt. Picking up Arabic in Egypt to get around was super easy because I had studied another language before. Now I've lost it all, so don't ask me to speak anymore. It's been about more than a decade now, but it's that exposure that makes it so worth it and so easy to teach kids and rewarding when they have that, and that's what they get.
I have had the opportunity to work with you and know that you have been willing to be a leader and to be on leadership teams. And that has given you the opportunity to have collaborative relationships with teachers in the other subject areas. So English, math, social studies, science, all of our elective teachers. How do you think world language and the acquisition of world language from an early age impacts the other subject areas? If you had to take a guess, what would you say?
How long do you have? I mean, we could go on this for forever. Well, okay, I'll start with this. In Latin 3, one of my favorite units to teach is this unit where we read some Enlightenment thinkers and some thinkers from the scientific revolution, Galileo, Copernicus, Newton, these people who all wrote in Latin. And the big takeaway from kids for that thing is this understanding and this realization that all these different subjects and all these different rooms and different departments within the school, they're all products of this centuries-long quest for knowledge and understanding about who we are as human beings and the space that we inhabit and the relationship that we have to our environment and to other species and things like this. And I think that same dynamic is at play when you start to work with people in the other, in other disciplines, and kids start to draw bridges between what they're learning in one subject and the other, and those connections are just exponential in terms of the benefit, right, that they have.
That makes total sense to me. So can we move to some rapid fire questions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. I know that you have the opportunity most years to take students on a trip, a Latin trip.
Yeah.
Where is your favorite place to take students?
Okay. There is this, now this is going to be really nerdy, but there is this church in Rome called San Clemente. in San Clemente is you could walk in it and walk out of it and say, oh, that's boring. But you didn't go downstairs, because you go into this church and then you go down a level and you realize that there is this whole other level in the church underneath it, underneath the street, that is from 400, 500 years ago. And then you walk down another level, and you walk down another level, and it has levels of history built into the area. Originally, it was a Roman house. It just got, something else got built on top of it, and a church got built on top of that, and a modern church got built on top of this. Every time I go there, I'm just like wowed by the place, and I've been there many times. And I can't go to Rome without going back to that place.
And this is why we never lack in people raising their hand to be a chaperone with you. Like, everybody's willing to go with you on these trips. Talk about what's your best piece of travel advice you just have in general, because you are so well traveled. You have visited so many places, and you have lived so many places.
Yeah. I'm going to give conflicting advice, but go travel with someone that you really, really want to share experiences with. I get to travel with my colleague Melissa, and every other year, we discover new things together in a place that we have both been so many different times. And when you travel with someone, you will never, ever, ever forget that person. My other piece of advice is, when you're ready, go travel alone, because it's going to have a totally different effect on you, and you are going to see the same place in a way that you cannot see if you're with anybody else. So I know that sounds contradictory, but I think you get it.
I get it. I totally get it. And last one, we are just a few days away from our winter break. What's one thing you're really looking forward to doing?
Ice fishing.
Ice fishing.
I'm from Minnesota, and I grew up ice fishing, and so we're hopefully going to be back in Minnesota. Hopefully there's going to be some great ice on the lake, and we'll be able to find those fish.
I didn't expect that answer, but I like it. I like it a lot. I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to do this, and I can sincerely say, for both you and Melissa Burgess, as well as all of our other world language teachers, I think one of the reasons our students continue to be passionate about it is because we have teachers who care so much about the craft and making sure that it brings joy to our students. So thank you for all that you do.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity, and I'll just give a shout out too for the travel opportunities in the other languages too.
Yes.
We talked about travel in Latin, but the Spanish teachers and the French teachers make it a commitment, and I just think that that's so vital to learning a language. So props to those people and to the families who are excited to send these kids on unbelievable, unforgettable experiences.
Excellent. Thank you for being part of Masterclass.